Welcome to our 61st episode of Two Tankers and a Cat podcast. We're your host. I'm Charlie.
And this is Russell.
We had a episode, but we have gotten quite a few emails and messages and comments and stuff about the stuff that happened or that's going on in China and India in the roof of the world up on the Silk Road. And we actually had Tasman, one of our, I guess you would call him one of our fact checkers. and we appreciate it. We do. I think a couple of months back, he's like, hey, you know, during that war, the Centurions weren't using 20-pounders or 107s. They were using the 20-pounders.
Yeah.
So we appreciate it. We do. We want you to know if you do comment, we do look at it, and we usually try to prove you wrong. But yeah, Tasman was correct, so we'll give him that one. And he pointed out that it was not the Spice Road, but the Silk Road.
Silk.
Yeah. So, but you know,
hey, we're learning just like everybody else. So.
There's just so much.
And thanks for pointing it out. Hey,
yeah,
that's great, man.
But like I said, it makes people crack
a
book.
You're darn right.
You know, and they're like, well, I don't think that's right. And they go back and they read it.
And we don't claim to know it all, I promise. We don't.
So we're going to change our episode. We got pointed out India has a main battle tank called the Arjun. And they're like, no, this is also deployed up there. And while we were doing this episode, Russ actually contacted me and he goes, hey, did you read the New York Times? And I'm like, no. He sent me the article, and apparently they've gotten in another big fight. India lost 20 guys, and the Chinese, of course, said, no, it's fake news. We heard nothing, but we'll get more into that.
Oh, yeah, we will.
But I guess we're going to talk about the Arjun. We had an episode. We'll catch back up on that and our next broadcast and get back on it, unless something major happens.
Yeah,
I think we are the only ones basically reporting on this now. There is a lot of conflicting information. China says nope, never happened, and then some Chinese generals slipped up and they're like, well, yeah, we could get in a fight, but we need India to calm down. And I'm like, literally, you have to fly somewhere and go knock on doors in that part of the country. Yeah. Well, I shouldn't even say that part of the world. You know, we have to fact check everything here. You know, something our news channel says, we got to go check international news.
Oh, I know.
You know, the big news at the beginning of the year that I don't think we talked about is what they call the right-wing militia that took over the Capitol and threatened the United States. That
all I'm going to say is be careful where you get your news.
Yeah.
That's one of the huge things going on right now in our country. And but just be careful where you get your news. Fact check.
Yeah. You know, we, over 2020, have had riots in Seattle where they've taken over police stations and burned them down. And if you say left wing, radicals or something, they're like, no, they're just protesters, and they're being calm. and then our guys, did go in there, but not a lot of damage, nothing set on fire.
Yeah, and you still got the left wing that's still setting fires even after the election.
Yep.
And you don't hear much about that anymore, but there's a reason for all that, but we won't get into the political part of it.
You got to dig, people. You got to dig.
Maybe we need to start a new podcast for that. They'd probably shut us down pretty quick.
They'd shut us down pretty quick. But we don't want to get shut down, so we're going to get back on track here.
Yeah.
Oh, good news. I heard we're on Audible now.
I thought
Audibles only did books.
Yeah, they must be starting to do podcasts. We'll have to look into that. I was not aware that Audible was starting to put out podcasts on their platform.
So if you have an Audible account and you find us, throw us a link.
Heck,
send us some links so we can go look at it.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it.
Tony Rouse, we got his coin back.
We did. I'll have to get a hold of him, I guess, to make sure the address that I got from him on Patreon is correct. I'm not sure what happened.
Well, let's blame his wife.
Yeah.
She's very understanding.
Yeah. I bet she's the one that put the address in Patreon.
So we'll go ahead and blame her. Man, she's going to beat us to death.
Oh, she'll hate us to death, man.
All right. Well, like I said, Russ and I had another episode ready for today. But world events have happened, and China and India have clashed again. So we're going to talk about another Indian tank that's going to be used or is currently in deployment. It could be a vital asset in the conflict if the conflict gets bigger. Russ, tell us about the Arjun.
The Arjun is a third-generation main battle tank developed by India's Defense Research and Development Organization, or the DRDO, for the Indian Army. The tank is named after Arjun, the archer prince, who is the main protagonist of the Indian epic
It's Mahabharata. And I haven't even had time to look this up. You know, we've talked about this epic, and we know our Indian listeners are like, this is like our King Arthur story, and you guys keep messing it up.
Okay.
But it's kind of like this amazing story. You know? And, did you know the Taj Mahal is like a mausoleum?
No, I did not.
Yeah, it's supposed to be some kind of like, I thought it was a palace or something.
Yeah, no, I've never really checked into a lot of Indian history. I'll have to start reading up on all that.
We've got to start doing that.
Oh, man.
But I was talking to a guy, and he says, no, the Taj Mahal's it was a palace, but it's also a mausoleum.
Huh.
And I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's true or not, so I'm going to have to do some reading.
Piqued my interest there to go and look it up.
Well, tell us more about the Arjun.
The Arjun features a 120 millimeter main rifle gun with indigenously developed armor-piercing, fin-stabilized, discarding sabot ammunition, one PKT 7.62 millimeter coaxial machine gun, and an NSVT 12.7 millimeter machine gun.
That's mostly for anti-aircraft.
Anti-aircraft guns.
Yep.
It is powered by a single MTU multi-fuel diesel engine rated at 1,400 horsepower and can achieve a maximum speed of 67 kilometers per hour or 42 miles per hour, and a cross-country speed of 40 kilometers per hour or 25 miles per hour. It has a 4-man crew, which consists of a commander, a gunner, a loader, and a driver. It has automatic fire detection and suppression, and NBC protection systems are also included. All-around anti-tank warhead protection by the indigenously developed Kanchan armor is claimed to be much higher than available in comparable third-generation tanks.
Now, I have tried to do some study on this Kanchan armor. Can't find anything because most of it's classified.
Still classified,
Yep.
Yeah. Subsequently, delays and other problems in its development from the 1990s to the 2000s prompted the Indian Army to order T-90S tanks from Russia to meet requirements that the Arjun had been expected to fulfill.
Where does that sound familiar?
I know.
So they started developing this tank back, in the 70s?
Yeah.
And then 1990s and 2000s, and they're draining money. This is starting to sound like a terrible tank.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us some more details?
In March 2010, the Arjun was pitted against the T-90 in comparative trials for assessing its maneuverability, and it performed well. On August 9th, 2010, the Army showed interest to place an order for the 124 Arjun Mk2 tanks, in addition to 124 Mark I Arjuns ordered earlier. However, in 2012 and 2016, the Indian Army had chosen instead to order 464 new T-90 MS tanks for 8 tank regiments, increasing the total number of T-90s in Indian service to over 2,000 and undermining further procurement of the Arjun.
Where does that sound familiar?
Man.
Did the India government start to build the Sheridan?
Sounds like it, but the Arjun probably wasn't made of aluminum and wood.
I don't know. I can't find anything about their armor.
Yeah, that's true. The Arjun entered service with the Indian Army in 2004. The tanks were first inducted into the 43rd Armored Regiment, Indian Army Armored Corps, while the latest induction has been into the 75th Armored Regiment on March 12th of 2011.
Okay, so India has had a gut feeling that they were going to have problems with China and Pakistan. They couldn't get the Arjun fast enough, basically, so they had to go and buy, 400 or some of these T-90s that we've already done, the Bisham.
The Bishma, yeah.
Bishma. I'm not starting to like this tank at all, Russ.
Oh, man. The DRDO, with its Combat Vehicles Research and Development Establishment, as the main laboratory, was tasked to develop the hull, armor, turret, running gear, and gun for the tank, with the power pack being imported.
Okay. I don't have a problem with them importing like power packs and optics and stuff like that, because I'm a big fan of the French optics that they have now.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't researched, the French are coming out with some really outstanding optics.
And if they've got the money, why reinvent the wheel? I mean, if there's something out there that's working.
Right. You do with what you got. Instead of sitting down and saying, okay, we want to develop this on our own, and then you look over and see the French design is far superior than what you're even capable of producing. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
And the power packs and stuff like that. I know Germany has some really good power packs that are going.
Although the development of the tank began in 1972 by the Combat Vehicles Research and Development Establishment, it was only in 1996 that the Indian government decided to mass produce the tank at Indian Ordnance Factory's production facility in Awadhi. When first accepted for service in the Army, the Arjun relied heavily on foreign components and technology. Initially, close to 50% of the tank's components were imported, which included the engine, transmission, gun barrel, tracks, and fire control system. However, several of these have since been replaced by indigenous systems or are being supplied by Indian companies. Recent comments from Army sources indicate that the Russian T-90S will form the mainstay of its future force, despite that tank's performance issues in hot weather.
You're getting 50% of your tank built other places. And then you go back and say, nah, we're going to use our own stuff. And now you're having a problem.
And also you got to be careful with that if you ever cut ties with the places you're getting those components. So.
Right.
The Arjun project experienced serious budget overruns and repeated delays that resulted in a development time of over 37 years.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like some of the tanks that the United States dumped money into.
A complicating factor was that advances in technology and the threat environment in the intervening years led to multiple revisions of requirements by the Army. While the government sanctioned $52.4 million in 2019 for the initial design in May of 1974, by 1995 the Development Research Department had spent $201.7 million in 2019 on development due to changing requirements and inflationary cost increases.
See, now this is starting to sound familiar. A design that starts to suck cash and is probably a complete waste of everybody's time. So the Army says, okay, we have $52 million. We want a main battle tank that's built here. And this is what, 1974? Then in 2019, they've already spent $201 million. That's 3 times the increase. It's starting to sound
incredible,
really familiar to some of our fine armored vehicles.
The Indian Army ordered 124 Arjuns in 2010, expected to cost $471.2 million. Early development versions of the Arjun were held by 43 Armored Regiment, which were shown in display in the Republic Day Parade of 2001. The first batch of 16 production version Arjun tanks were received in 2004, and they were provided as a squadron to the 43 Armored Regiment. The regiment was later made up to 45 tanks on May 25th, 2009, making it the first Arjun regiment of the Indian Army. More than 100 tanks have been delivered to the Indian Army as of June 2011. The latest regiment to be completely equipped by the Arjun tank is 75 Armored Regiment, which was the last regiment in the Indian Army to hold the T-55 tank.
So they had the old T-55s, and they're like, man, we've got to get these out. We got to get these out. They're like, okay, let's put the Arjuns in.
Yeah, and it probably was a pretty big upgrade from the T-55 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Ministry of Defense concluded the negotiations with Ordnance Factory Board for 118 units of Arjun Mk-1A for Indian Army Armored Corps at an estimated amount of $888.7 million US.
Holy, it keeps going up, doesn't it?
Yeah, with order of intent likely to be placed at any moment that will also include 2-year engineering and support package with maintenance, spares, and simulator training for the crew members. Delivery of first Arjun Mk-1As will start 30 months after signing of contract, with all 118 units to be delivered within 4 to 5 years.
Sounds more and more like a fail tank to me. We're going to have to, get a contract with you that you'll come and fix it, because we're a little worried about it. Where the military says, you know what, we're not fixing these things. You're going to get the company that makes it to fix it.
Wow.
And they're like, oh, yeah. If you have any problems, give us a call. We'll be right on it. Because we all have dealt with Indian tech support, haven't we? I better stop there.
Oh, yeah.
I better stop there. Go ahead, Russ.
The extensive mobility and armament trials were found to perform below the acceptable standards, and deficiencies were listed in the following areas: the accuracy of the gun at battle ranges, mission reliability, ammunition lethality, containerization of ammunition bin, emergency traverse, the fire control system unable to function in temperatures above 42 degrees or 108 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
Wow. That's quite a list.
So the Army gets these, and they do a comparison test about the T-90. They're like, okay, the accuracy of the gun at battle ranges. They're like, well, at 50 feet, it's accurate.
Well, sure.
Well, we're talking about 2 miles out. Oh, well.
Probably not going to be great.
Mission reliability, because that means it's breaking down.
Yep.
Ammunition. If your ammunition won't kill the tank and you can't hit the tank, that's probably a problem.
What's the point of having it on the battlefield?
And you're having problems with the ammunition bin? That means the ammo's falling out? Probably not. Emergency traverse. So if you got to turn it real quick and the track pops, fire control. Fire control is great, but if an actual fire pops out at 108 degrees, it's not going to work.
Incredible.
I'm laughing.
I know.
But the United States has a few fine examples.
Oh, yeah. The Arjun faced persistent problems of overheating, and that tank's main subsystems, the fire control system, the suspension system, integrated gunner's main sight, which includes a thermal imager and laser rangefinder, rendered erratic and useless by the abnormally high peak internal temperature of beyond 55 degrees Celsius in India. However, Major General H.M. Singh, a director in charge of trial and evaluation, said the user field trial report had certified the accuracy and consistency of the weapon system.
So they have one of these generals, and they're like, oh no, the tank's fine.
But Charlie, the Indian Army Armored Corps had cleared the upgraded Arjun Mk-1A after successful completion of final integration tests conducted in 2019. It comes with 72 improvements over Arjun Mk-1 with 14 major upgrades. Arjun Mk-1A is ready to undergo mass production at Heavy Vehicle Factory and is waiting for orders from the Indian Army.
Oh, okay. As Russ pointed
Oh,
out,
yeah.
they've done 72 improvements and 14 major upgrades.
Already?
Already. Okay. So this is a big pile of taxpayer crap, and they're trying to tie pretty bows on it. Like my daddy always used to say, you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig.
Yes, it is. Now, Charlie, let me tell you this. The Arjun Mark II is an advanced third-generation tank. Its development was completed in 2 years, owing to experience gained from developing the first version. It has outclassed the T-90 during comparative trials. Regarding the trials, a Ministry of Defense press release reported, after many years of trial and tribulation, it has now proved its worth by its superb performance under various circumstances, such as driving cross-country over rugged sand dunes, detecting, observing, and quickly engaging targets, accurately hitting targets, both stationary and moving, with pinpointed accuracy. Its superior firepower is based on accurate and quick target acquisition capability during day and night and all types of weather, and the shortest possible reaction time during combat engagement. The fire control system of the new tank has hit probabilities over 90% when firing on the move. The new tank has also improved communication systems and new navigation systems. Arjun Mark IIs has a total of 93 upgrades, including 13 major improvements.
They started out with the Mark I, and they got up to this Mark II, and now it's a third generation. I stand by what I think. Spend the money on the T-90 Bishma tanks and junk the Arjun. The Arjun was supposed to be a wonderful new weapon. However, it ended up being poorly made, over budget, and greatly delayed. But okay.
Money pit.
Okay. You were saying that this third generation is a lot better. Give me the third generations.
And any new tank development's going to take time to work out the kinks, especially if they're making their own from scratch, I guess you'd say. But I mean, it's still a money pit. They're still sinking.
I can agree with you a little bit. Like the M4 Sherman when it first came out.
Yeah.
They upgraded
There was a lot of variations.
They came up with the 17-pounder and the Firefly variant. They
had
came
issues
up
with the ammo stowage. I mean, all
stowage.
that. Yeah, ammo racked all the time. Yeah.
And the Sherman Easy 8, the Jumbo and stuff like that. But again,
yeah, I know.
They're making improvements, not fixing things that are broke.
Exactly.
So, okay,
I agree. Yeah.
Give me the stats on the third generation.
Okay.
And at the end, I'll make a decision.
Okay. The unit cost is approximately $5.2 million US.
Okay.
Produced between 2004 and present. And about 242 have been built so far.
So the MK1s and the MK have been upgraded to what this third generation is.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Mark II has a mass of about 64 tons or 63 long tons. And the Mark II measures about 10.64 meters long or 34 feet 11 inches long. It measures about 3.95 meters wide or 13 feet wide. It has a height of about 2.8 meters or 9 foot 2 inches high. Like we talked about earlier, it has a crew of 4, the commander, the gunner, loader, and driver. And the armor, we had already talked about a little bit, it has the Kanshin armor, which is still classified.
I've searched for stuff on that, and it's classified.
Yeah.
There's nothing on that that I can find.
Well, don't search too hard. We don't want you to...
Or hurt myself.
We don't want Interpol having to get a hold of you to...
I keep forgetting... I keep forgetting people that I'm searching into military, modern equipment. They might say, why is this redneck from Kansas?
The main armament has one 120 millimeter rifled tank gun capable of firing heat, APF, SDS, and HESH. The rate of fire is about 6 to 8 rounds per minute and holds about tank has about 39 containerized rounds.
Okay.
Secondary armament is the one NSV 12.7 millimeter anti-aircraft gun. They usually carry about 1,000 rounds of it on board, and also has one Mag 7.62 millimeter TK 715 coaxial machine gun, and they carry about 3,000 rounds of that on board. And it also has about 12 smoke grenades. The engine is the 1,500 horsepower V12 diesel engine. Has a power to weight ratio of 27 horsepower per ton in the Mark II and about 24 horsepower per ton in the Mark I. The transmission contains an epicyclic train gearbox, 4 forward and 2 reverse gears. Has a hydro-pneumatic suspension. Has a ground clearance of 0.45 meters or 1 foot 6 inches. It's not very high.
Nope.
Fuel capacity of about 1,610 liters or 430 U.S. gallons of fuel. And the Mark II has an operational range of about 500 kilometers or 310 miles. It has a maximum speed of 80 kilometers per hour or 50 miles per hour on the road and 60 kilometers per hour or 37 miles per hour cross country.
Okay. In my opinion, yep, it's a black hole. India may have a serious battle soon, and they can't afford to waste money like our weapon designers do here in the United States. And that brings us to our second point. Now, again, we are getting our information from Indian news sites, the New York Times and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of news to get out of the Chinese side. Yeah.
So we're going to report on a little bit of what we got on January 25th, 2021. Russ, just give us a little bit of...
And as far as I know, we're recording this on the 28th. So as far as I know, there hadn't been any other clashes or anything since
right. But this was
Monday,
a serious clash,
yeah.
And we need to talk about it.
The Indian and Chinese troops clashed last week in an incident that caused deaths on both sides. Indian officials said Monday, underscoring the persistent border tensions between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. India and China share an unofficial frontier that stretches 2,200 miles. Last June, the two countries engaged in their deadliest conflict in more than 5 decades, a high-altitude brawl in which 20 Indian soldiers were killed, along with an unknown number of Chinese casualties. Indian and Chinese soldiers engaged in a minor face-off on January 20th in the Nakala area of the state of Sikkim, the Indian Army said in a statement. The situation was resolved by local commanders as per established protocols. Whatever that means.
Minor standoff. Okay, I call BS.
Yeah.
You got 20 men dead for sure, and at least that or more on the Chinese side. No. This is... I got to calm down. If the U.S., let's get something crazy like Spain, had a fight like this, where we lost 20 guys and they lost a whole bunch of guys, it would be huge.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah.
Their local commanders say, oh, no, everything's fine.
Sweep it under the rug.
It sounds like it to me, but Russell, read on.
The Indian Army statement did not mention injuries and asked the media to refrain from exaggerating or overplaying their reporting. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijiang said he didn't have any information to offer on the incident and urged India to exercise restraint.
Okay. Okay. For those who...
Nothing happened, but exercise restraint.
Right. Okay. For those who don't know what fake media talk, sounds like, don't look this way. Nothing to see. Yeah. Yeah, we've got some dead people, and yes, some tanks fired. Yes, we have some tanks on fire. Nothing.
Oh, Charlie, you and I both know they just went out and got drunk Sunday night and
had a minor fist fight. Yeah. They're trying to make it sound like, a couple of Indian guys got drunk, went over and punched a Chinese kid in the face, and everything's cool. This is this is BS. And the sad thing, it's a slap in the face of the soldiers that did die.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. We all can go through history and say, I don't want to use like the Vietnam conflict and stuff that we underreported during that time. You can't do that. It's a slap in the face to the families. These guys signed up to serve their country, and now they're getting swept underneath the rug.
Yeah.
And it's bull.
It is.
I'm sorry, Russ. Keep going.
The current frictions began in May
Of 2020.
When China intruded into areas claimed by India at several points along the frontier, experts say. They believe that China may now control as much as 400 square miles of territory that India considers its own.
Okay. When you use words like intruded, if the British intrude in the United States, we didn't say that. We said it was an invasion.
We whooped their butts.
Oh no. No, actually we didn't. If you haven't studied, the War of 1812 and the Revolutionary War,
it took us a while, but we got there.
Well, we were using Vietnamese hit and run tactics.
Did they have any tanks back then?
I'm going to tell you a story. Yes, they did. In the Revolutionary War, yes, they did have a tank.
Cool.
You're going to get people say, no, they didn't. They didn't have motors and stuff.
I know they had tank boats.
I don't want to discuss. Yeah. Well, you know what?
They probably didn't float very long.
I'll tell you what. I'll do an episode on it, and people go, "What is he talking about?" We'll do an episode on Revolutionary armored vehicles and boats and stuff like that. But anyway, we gotten off track again.
We usually do.
There's 400 miles. Let's have a minor intrusion into the state of Maryland and take 400 square miles of Maryland. A minor intrusion into Maryland, and you take 400 square miles of Maryland.
Yeah.
Or Washington, D.C. That's probably the entire state.
I know.
Besides what the two governments are saying, or now saying, that it's not a big deal, what's the underlying truth? Russ, give us some more information.
India and China last fought a war in 1962. Since then, they've mostly handled their border disagreements through dialogue. The current impasse, however, is proving difficult to solve. Shyam Saran, a former senior Indian diplomat, said the fact that talks were still taking place was a reason to hope that an understanding will be reached through negotiations. Saurav Jha, a defense analyst in Delhi, was less sanguine. Tensions are high, Jha said, when you have large forces in close proximity and there is no resolution after rounds and rounds of talks, then the probability of something happening cannot be considered insignificant.
Forget about what the governments are saying. Forget what the Chinese government's saying. Forget about what the Indian government's saying. You have a diplomat saying, well, there's hope. There's hope. Okay, but then you have the defense analysts who's knows and has contacts inside there. Remember, there's 100,000 troops there now, and they're sending tanks. We've already discussed that
tanks on both sides.
Tanks on both sides.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things that Russ had brought up, that India doesn't have any light tanks since the AMX-13 left. Yeah. They sent out a call international to get light tanks, and you might see a light tank renewal of bringing more light tanks in.
And we're only talking armor. We're not talking jet fighters and everything else that's taking place in this area. I mean,
remember, they're not telling you about the air-to-air conflicts and stuff like that. Even the United States, if you watch this movie, and I know it's a movie, Top Gun, they talk about the conflicts between the Soviet Union and America having air-to-air battles. Yeah. Where they would, actually start shooting, and we actually lost people, but we kept it underneath because we didn't want this to escalate.
Sure.
Now you have the same thing, but you have the Chinese and the Indian.
Yeah.
India's lost 400 square miles of their territory. I'm telling you, they're not sending extra troops. They're not sending tanks. just to be cautious.
Exactly.
And you have people saying, "Oh, well, we hope everything's going to work out," because they're having talks now in Moscow, right?
Yeah, they have in the last several months.
And basically, India's like, "Hey, can we have our land back?" And I'm sure that the Chinese will go, "You know what?
Yeah, we screwed up.
We're really bad. We're sorry. You know what? And we're going to leave Tibet too."
Yeah.
No, dude,
it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. You know,
the line in the sand.
And now what I'm trying to, and remember, you heard it here first. Me and Russ have studied history. We're basically what you call keyboard historians. We're saying in this year, this could be very ugly. We are giving you all a heads up that this could be very bad. The reason we keep coming back to this situation is both of them are nuclear powers.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about the silly tanks. We're not talking about the 100,000 armored, and like you said, the airplanes and everything else. Yeah. And if there's a big push, and it does turn into a big fighting war, there's a nuclear option that could happen there. Because if you've lost your army up there and they're pushing through, well, there's a spot you can nuke pretty easy. And if you start using nukes, like I said, me and Russ at no point say that we want a war to happen. We're just giving you a heads up, and let's hope they work it out.
And if you're interested on your own of keeping up with all this and the current news, easiest option is just do a search on Google News. I mean, India, Chinese,
and you'll
border turmoil or whatever. I mean,
you'll get the same stuff that we are. Will. The government's
and like we said, most of this stuff out there, the current news is out of India because. Out of China, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of
the latest thing out of the China. I had to go to CCTV.
Yeah,
they're saying, "Oh no, it's fake news."
Yeah.
Never happened.
Yeah, they're going to downplay
it. We've read our battle reports, and there is no report of even a skirmish.
Sure.
I'm like, nah. You know what? Yeah. If the Chinese are going that far, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not saying one side's wrong and the other side's right. You know, that's not our place here.
I mean, it would be similar. I mean, if the Mexicans here in their country started building up their military on our southern border to the United States, it would be the same type of deal.
I think the Mexicans, or Mexico has been picked on enough. Let's do the Canadians.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, what if the Canadians came down and took 400 square miles of New York?
Yeah. It would get your attention.
It would be
right.
A serious problem.
Yep.
So I guess we got to bring this to a close. We hope we have nothing further to report on this. I hope everything gets out. We'll try to keep you updated of what's going on. I think we need to do an episode on light tanks, the Chinese light tanks that they have deployed up there now. But we're going to try to get back to some of our older tanks. We still have that very first German World War I tank to do.
Yeah, we do.
But now we're closing. Yeah. Let's talk about Patreon.
Yes, we want to thank all of our patrons that give to us through Patreon. Big shout outs to Kim and Eric Shearer. They're still with us. And Riley Van Buiten.
Yeah.
He's still with us. Thank you, Riley. Still got Jacob Zaki.
Michael Kalb.
Kalb, yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, Razbaz.
Razbaz is still with us.
Evan. Yep. Who else?
Antonio Bernarda.
Love him.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys.
Slam Jamington.
Alejandro Martinez, still with us.
ODS Theron. Good old Rick Schmidt.
Rick Schmidt, still there, man.
Yeah, but Bjorn Ben.
Yeah.
He had to stop.
Yep. Sorry to see that.
Yeah. Bjorn, we hope everything's going all right in your family. Reach out to us, contact us.
Yeah.
We know you had to reduce or withdraw your support.
Yeah, but that's, things happen. Yep.
Yeah. And Tony needs to contact us about his coin.
Yes, Tony.
Find out what's going on.
Yeah, we'll get that down to you eventually. And everybody else that's got one coming to you, I promise I'll get that out in the next month. I've been so darn busy with work and everything going on with that.
You caught COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And then I caught it.
Yeah.
And so we both had COVID, which was horrible.
Oh, yeah.
But luckily, we were just one of the few percents that just had cold. Yeah,
cold symptoms is kind of all I had. I mean,
yeah, and all I had was I couldn't taste anything.
yeah.
And you said your smell.
Yeah, my sense of smell went away, and getting that back gradually, but yeah.
Good. Hey, pull my finger and I'll test it right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your support again. I think this has been a kind of a scary episode where we'll go back to something, more historical back in the days. We'll go back.
Yeah.
I think the German World War I tank, we'll just talk about that, get everybody, kind of chilled out. Unless something happens.
Yeah.
And if something happens, we're not a current news reporter, but we'll talk about the history that's happening right in front of us.
Yep.
All right. Well, this is Charlie.
And this is Russell. As always, happy tanking and have a great week.